Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of Couch Trip, where Eddie and myself, Bill Courtwright, will wax poetic on all the issues of the day as it relates to therapy, mental health, and um, all the things that therapy can help and support, and the reasons why someone might seek out a psychotherapist or get on YouTube and search some things. And if that's how you found us, we really appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe because Eddie and I love to talk about this stuff, and we do so once a week, whether we like it or not. So, and we do like it. So that's a beautiful thing. We were just talking off air about, what do we want to talk about today and what kind of a conversation would resonate with our audience. And Eddie made a comment and it just kind of hit me like a brick to the head. And it was essentially that we as a society are hearing over and over again two words that in and of themselves are probably um, carry with them a little bit of anxiety just hearing the words themselves. But put together, I just don't know how it happened and if it's an accurate representation of where we are as a people. And those two words are crisis and mental health. And
That's three words.
that is correct. Thank you for pointing that out. He is a stickler for details, folks, and I did not major in math. So yes, what I meant was two ideas, two concepts, three words. Thank you. We'll buy a vowel if need be. But yes, so mental health and crisis, and the reality is, I think we've all heard on a news program or read in an article or in conversation with friends or family, we've heard this referenced, this 2024 mental health crisis, whether it's in reaction to a active shooter or mass event or violent act or political discord or social media activity, whatever it is. It just seems like, oh, there's a mental health crisis in this country. And so, with that as the issue raising question, in the event we are truly in crisis with our nation's mental health, uh, how did we get here?
If I were in a discussion with, say, a reporter doing a story on the mental health crisis, I would say, point to me in probably the history of humankind when there wasn't a mental health crisis. And gosh, there's so many different things folks knew about this. First of all, mental health being used as the description. Mental health means the health probably of your brain. It's mental, emotional, physical. I mean, it's all tied in together. Um, your gut health has as much to do with your mood and things like depression and anxiety and things like that. So I wish people would stop saying mental health, at least go mental emotion though. So I'll get that out of the way. The crisis is there because people are beginning to reduce the stigma of it slightly. Here in the Southeast, the stigma is still sky high. But you reduce the stigma a little bit, people begin to notice it. There are people who are well known now speaking out about their struggles, about going to therapy, things like that, and so that helps. Then you have the focus on kids that for so long, I don't know when this started, but it's all about taking care of the kids. Well, what about me? I'm old. Take care of me too, if you don't mind. But this is all about the kids. The kids are in crisis. Well, so are the adults. So are the adolescents, or everybody. It's always been here. Right. You don't think there were mental emotional issues involved but when this country was primarily rural? People lived on farms, 6, 8, 10, 12 kids. a mom and a dad, and you got more work to do than you're ever going to get done. The folks are not book smart, educated. Um, you don't think there were mental health crises? When women were chattel, children were chattel, and the men used to publicly beat the women and children and were applauded for it. You don't think there was trauma? You don't think there was mental health? You don't? Yeah, it's always been here. In a way, when I turn into, the older generation that I grew up with and notice, maybe it's just age, we're born to one hand about shit. How things are just so much worse now. In so many areas, things are the best they have ever been. 100 years ago, there were a whole lot of people starving to death more than now. If you look at the population and get the percentage of it, there were a lot more wars going on. You go back 1,000 years, there was everybody's beating up on everybody, and wars and fights and cowboys shooting each other. It's so mental health crisis it bugs me.
Yeah, it sounds to me like there's an awareness, which perhaps is newfound. I don't know. I'll be 50, but I've got a lot to learn. Haven't been around for a long time, but across a couple generations, and I certainly have seen the advent of technology and social media and connectivity and the social competitive nature of stuff and experiences being broadcast to the world as a way to measure our life's worth. And and I say that obviously with some tongue in cheek, just to and I hope you understand that I don't subscribe to that as a statement of value, but I do see it as a marketer everywhere.
Oh, sure.
And I also believe that awareness precedes progress. And as we talked about this last week, as the stigma subsides, and whether it began with Tony Soprano and the first HBO program about a mob boss getting therapy, that wasn't that long ago. And yet, even in that moment, that was a shocking revelation that this organized crime figure would have an anxiety-induced event, and a doctor would actually recommend some.
How do you be in the mob and not have anxiety? I mean, how do you not have a paranoid complex? Because
100%.
Everybody is out to get you.
Well, and this is all to your point that this is not new. There's I guess what I'm saying is it's not a crisis of volume of incidents. Perhaps it's a crisis of awareness, if that's even.
Well, I think that's an excellent way to put it, Billy. That the crisis is in the fact that people are shocked that people have mental health issues. I mean, look in the mirror. Okay, I honestly believe, and this sounds so blown out of proportion, but I honestly believe that there's not a person on this planet that couldn't be helped by a really good therapist whose life would not get better if they spent some time with a really good therapist. So I think it's sort of a shock of recognition, Oh my God, look, people have problems. Yeah. So
it's a black light to a hotel room. It's jarring.
I saw that one time on TV. I don't want to see that ever again. But that's what it is. It's like, oh, look how dirty the hotel room is. Shocking. It is shocking. So I guess as we're talking about this, my wish is that instead of reporting about the mental health crisis, report about wow, there are people do have issues, wow. and then everybody has issues, and everybody has always had issues,
And ignoring those issues won't make
and
them get better.
ignoring them, right? And they've been passed down since, since the first violence happened, since the first child that died because nobody knew what to do with it or couldn't feed it or whatever. I mean, that's all trauma, which is another word that makes me kind of cringe. So yeah, there is a mental health crisis in that everybody's a mess. And there's such denial. So if you want to really name the crisis is a crisis of denial. The denial remains. The denial is enforced by our culture,
100%.
and that there's so much pressure on everybody to be normal. Yeah. I may have said this before in another podcast, but clients will very often ask me, or very often make comment, I just want to be normal. And I go, you are. That's why you're on my couch. Because normal in a messed up culture is messed up. I want to help you be abnormal. I want to help you rise above normal so that you don't struggle and suffer the way a normal person does.
But you're touching on something there, which I want to kind of shine a light on, which is, you mentioned in the first few minutes about how things back maybe when we were a more rural society and on farms and in small communities supporting one another. And there certainly wasn't any social media. And although there was likely some gossip at the tavern or around the fire pit or on a hunt or whatever, the level of judgment that a person would encounter during their life was most likely confined to their family in tight circle. And then over a course of about 100 years,
many people that you came across.
Right. But over a course of 100 years, we've developed this technology and this connectiveness and this association and this tribalism. And we could go hours and hours in a million different directions, but I just want to make this point, which is that today, I think one thing that could be contributing to the relative crisis that some folks are calling it is the degree to which a human being is feeling judged has exponentially increased and is consistently placed upon them through their phone or their computer, their workplace. I don't know if that's true. This is just what I'm seeing as a behavioral scientist, as a marketer, as a communicator. There is so much desire, to your point, be normal, good enough, smart enough. And I just wonder if the mental, the byproduct or consequence of all that strain and all that awareness and all that striving for what have you, and then the lack of validation or recognition through the how many likes I got or how many comments I received or what someone said about my son, daughter, or car, house, job, paycheck, whatever, waistline, spouse, partner, it goes on and on and on. And, could it be that we're just so damn concerned with what other people think? It's causing some damage?
Yeah, I don't think it's any different. I don't think anyone's experience is any different than anyone's experience of that in the past. If you only come across 40 different people in your life, and, everybody is at least teasing you or poking at you, or your parents might be beating the crap out of you, or your school teacher's beating the crap out of you, you're going to have all of those issues. It doesn't matter how many people. And if your world is this small and a good portion of those people, especially the people closest to you, are, giving you all this grief, okay, now multiply that by 100,000. This can't get bigger. I mean, when we've talked about shame, shame is I am completely worthless. It's not, shame is not, I'm not such a great person. No, I am completely worthless. And you explore that, it goes to nobody's going to want anything to do with me. I'm going to die under a bridge alone. The vultures won't even eat me. Okay? That's how worthless I am. That happens. It doesn't matter how many people pile on. You can't get worse than that. So, when the news story now is generally children or, young people are having the big mental health crisis, and that's all about social media. But I don't care if you get beat up by social media or a baseball bat. And the damage is the same. You're not going to blame the baseball bat. You're not going to blame social media. You don't blame anything but the water that we swim in. That's where it comes from. So go pick out any boogeyman you want to pick out. It doesn't matter. This is what I wish the press talked about. This is what I wish was put out there. That sure, there's a crisis. There always has been, and if you want to reduce that crisis, go to therapy. Read self-help books that are worthwhile. There's not a lot of them that are really worthwhile, but read some good books. Get more involved in your community. Make connections with people who aren't going to beat you up in any way, and stop the relationships you have with the people who do. That's what I wish people would cover. So instead of mental health crisis in today's year, about, and here's another segment about how we're all screwed up and what to do about it. Wow, how you're screwed up. How these are your problems too. These are not the problems those people over there have. You and your loved ones don't argue. You and your loved ones aren't estranged. You and your loved ones aren't so enmeshed in each other you wish you could, strangle the other. You're not yelling and screaming in traffic. You're not yelling and screaming at your television, at your phone. You're not depressed and just hopeless about your life and the world. I mean, go down the line. And I know people who are incredibly emotionally healthy, and we all have problems. How in the world is somebody who is shame bound, who has been so beat up in their lives, and has a part of them that says I'm just so worthless, and has never once improved that one iota. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's why I do this. I don't want that person to exist. I don't want that to be the case for anybody. And at some point, this guy that's sitting on the corner at Kroger has been there for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I almost did it yesterday. But, I'm like, you don't have time to be late for the appointment. I'm just going to go over and sit down next to him and go, you mind telling me how you know? And would you mind telling me how you could really be helped to get something you want? I just hate to see it.
We're seeing it more and more.
Yeah, I mean, this is for folks who don't know, I live in a really, really affluent part of, kind of suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. And I don't know how I got here when things were really cheap. So
Yeah, me too.
I bought in when the economy was really down. So I'm just looking around and go, oh my God, what am I doing in a house where there's something wrong? I don't have that kind of car. I don't belong to a country. So when it's happening here, man, I mean, breaks my heart. So everybody's got problems. Everybody's got problems. It's one of the things I like that you came up with for the podcast. That this is about everyday life. And plenty of people talk about the biggies. But specialize in schizophrenia or bipolar or these sorts of things. But I want to help the average person who struggles from time to time during the day. And if they stop and look at it, they would go, this is all the time for me. The circumstances I'm upset about or feel bad about or get to me change every day, but there's that much awareness, that it's really about what's in here.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we're all wounded birds.
And yeah, absolutely. How do you not be? I mean, if and I say this quite often, if you were raised by absolutely perfectly emotionally, physically, mentally healthy human beings, as soon as you walk outside, you're going to get slammed by advertising, by looking at your friends, by talking to your friends, by getting involved with other human beings. You're going to get hurt. Now, you're going to be a lot better able to deal with it than the normal person because you've got, so much inside you that you learned from your amazing parents. But I don't believe those parents exist. We get closer and closer to them. That's why I say things are really better off now than they've ever been. I mean, I see, gosh, this was 20 something years ago. I'm traveling and I'm in this tiny town in like Tennessee or something. I'm in a local pizza place. It's not even a chain or anything. It's some guy that lives there. And I see a father and a small child. Kid's probably 5 maybe. And they're eating pizza. They got a soda there. The kid is like, not intentionally, he's not being mean or bad or anything. He knocked over a shortness up. He knocked over a new full soda. Okay. After 20 minutes of his dad like having to do all kinds of things to the kids, dropping stuff on the floor. He's really kind of learning how to eat, This father in this rural town never, ever, ever, ever even hinted at being the least bit upset with his child. When he knocked that soda over, he's like, "Oh, you knocked it over. Let's get this thing out." I mean, I couldn't sit in my chair. I had to go over and just go, "Excuse me, my name's Eddie. I'm a psychotherapist. I just want to tell you that so many people I know, including myself, wish they had a father like you, the way you're behaving right there with your son. I can't tell you how much money you're saving in therapy for your child right now. Well, you're doing a great job." Yeah. How many of us really get that? And I'm sure if I sat and watched this father and son over a few days, it might not be that way. So yeah, that we all have it. We all have it. We're all struggling. We're all having a hard time with something. Maybe one day, not in my lifetime, people can tell their friends, maybe family, all of those things, and nobody will try to turn it into something else. That's the real damage that gets done is where you feel really forced to conform. E. Cummings wrote a poem, probably won't quote it exactly, but it's to be yourself in a world that works night and day to turn you into somebody else is the hardest fight you will ever fight, and keep fighting. That's where the real damage comes from. Right. People can't be who they really are. And I have to qualify that because you have a lot of self-help people. Just be yourself. Well, if you're a serial killer, no, please don't be yourself. But be able to tell somebody who you are, I got this urge to want to kill people. Never stop, Germany does just an amazing job with people who get attracted to children as their sexual preference. There's billboards everywhere. There's commercials on TV and radio. If you have any sort of sexual attraction to children, please call this number. They don't get in trouble at all for calling that number. They get help. If the whole world did that, we would pretty much get rid of any sort of child sexual abuse. It would just be gone. I'm sure somebody would slip here and there, but it'd be so dang rare. Do that with everything.
I'm sure for some people that's going to be tough. I'm not saying it's the wrong approach. You know what you're talking about. I respect the heck out of you. But just hearing that as a father of 2 under 10, it is so difficult and visceral for me to be like, that is a fear we have, is that they'll be outside of our purview. And
do you know why? Oh, here's the problem, Billy. The reason why you have that fear is because you've been brainwashed by so much media that want to sell you something. The children who are sexually abused, the extreme vast majority of them are sexually abused by family members.
Yeah.
And people who are involved with the family, maybe neighbors that the family's close to or whatever. It's not some guy in a van, When I moved into the neighborhood I'm in, I am in the suburb, man. It freaked me out when I finally realized it one day. But this is a dead end neighborhood. So there's one way in, one way out. All right. When we first moved here, the school bus would stop on the highway that we're connected to, And I'm noticing one day all these cars parked because I'm on the road right here. The entrance is right there. And I can't even get in to the neighborhood real well. Cars are having to move to let me in. I'm like, why is everybody parked there? And then a school bus pulls up and young teenagers are getting off of it, not 4-year-olds. And it's like, it's a beautiful day. You can't let your kid walk back through a dead-end neighborhood to their house because you're afraid someone's going to abduct them. I wanted to be like a homeless person to start preaching.
Yeah.
I was like, really? So that's why you have that visceral response, because that says that fear is great in you and there's no reason for it to be. None. But like I said, when I'm growing up, somebody walked in and asked my mom, where are the boys? There were 3 of us. Oh, they're outside. We're outside. Go outside. Nobody showed up that we didn't know and took any of the kids that we had away and did anything with us. I mean,
where's that coming from?
Media is there not to inform you, not to entertain you, not to do anything other than sell you something. Be a platform for a commercial. That's it. I work in media, and that's all there is to it. You had people in me, like me early on. I mean, I wanted to play this music, and I wanted other people to hear it, and I was fortunate enough to work at a non-commercial radio. But once you're in a commercial media situation, it's about how many eyeballs and make commercials. So what news source other than maybe NPR or something like that is going to run a story about, no, there's not a mental health crisis that has popped up out of nowhere. It's not, I mean, think about it. Really, people, we were all just mentally and emotionally so sound before, and now we're not. No. So who's going to run a story about this is the way it's always been? You have problems. I have. He has. She has. Right. No, there's no crisis that didn't exist before. Who's going to run that story? Are people going to be just glued to their TV, radio, internet to click in on it? Yeah.
We agree on that. That's for sure.
No, who's going to run the story about the hundreds of thousands of airplanes that landed safely, the millions of homes that didn't burn, the billions of people that didn't harm another human today? Who's going to run those stories? Nobody. So we are at our core, as we've talked about before, we're in electrical appliances, we're neurology. And we have a huge chunk of our neurology that's all about dumb. And that part of us is scanning 24 hours a day. So it's scanning and it turns the TV on and it's like mental health crisis. Boom. Huh.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is in the same way that pedophiles aren't taking over the world and your child is not in danger from the corner to your doorstep, and that the majority of individuals are decent. And I believe all three of those things are absolutely 100% true. The fact that I would have a weird reaction, I don't know how else to put it, to hearing that a developed modern country like Germany, who has recognized that a better path forward for dealing proactively, by the way, with the prevention of child sex abuse might not sound appealing, flies in the face of the fact that if it prevents more occurrences, who cares? Like, why does my opinion or reaction to hearing or that there's a billboard in Germany saying, in the event you're attracted to a child, please call this number? And that's just frightening to see, but it shouldn't be.
Right.
And the fact that I've just reasoned with my own mind, and as someone who self purports to be the voice of the every person, what I'm really realizing is if it's a successful preventative measure, then first of all, my judgment is unimportant, and it's misplaced, and it's more a part of the problem than any piece of any solution that I could think of. And I'm willing to admit that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could apply that to any big news issue, abortion rights. You really want to cut down on abortions, put sex education everywhere, for God's sake, don't leave it up to just parents. Okay, because first of all, I'm a teenager. Do you think I want to hear anything from my parents about it?
Yeah.
I remember a comedian says, my kids getting that age to get to talk. He said, so my wife and I had to talk with them, and so we sat down, and it's like, your mom and I go at it like, we are so excited that you're getting to be about that age, and we can't wait for you to have those experiences that we have, like every night in the afternoon. I mean, before you get home from school, we are all over this. They'll never have a school.
That's funny.
There are other ways to go about it. Okay. Teach people, educate them, you get them to understand not only, basic sex education, this is what happens, but sex education should also really be relationship education, which needs to start from day one. This is how you get along with your friends at school. This is the things you say and don't say. Here's how you play, when there's a conflict. And then also let kids figure that out on their own. A lot of times they will. Don't make every moment a teaching moment. God, these poor kids, every moment's a dang teaching moment. Let me figure something out on my own. So there are ways to avert this mental health crisis through education, through psychotherapy, through calm yourselves down, people. Stop watching so much media. Get off your phone and turn to another human being and say, how can I be of service? Yeah. What can I do? I love the image of the Amish going, Joe needs a barn. Let's go build him a barn. I mean, if we all built everybody a barn, whatever that looked like, we'd be okay. If you could go to your neighbor and go, I'm having some problems here, would you mind? And then if you do that, they're going to go, yeah, most of them anyway. My neighbor's like, let me know what I can do for you, But can't do that. Can't let anybody know there's anything wrong. I get it all together. I'm someone to be admired. Look at me. Which is, I don't have any shame. That's all that is. Can you imagine having a conversation with somebody going, I found this person and we're having sex and here's what's going on with us. How have you handled that with your friends? And you go, and your friend goes, I haven't really come across that, but something like that, here's kind of how we got some help with that. Or I was talking to a buddy of mine and he had that, and this is kind of what he was doing. And, maybe you could try that and see how and nobody ever thought, about, I can't talk about that. Can you imagine a conversation like, oh, hi, Billy. No, my name's Eddie. Yeah, nice to meet you. And a few minutes into the conversation, so listen, I just made a big chunk of money, and it's really caused me a lot of anxiety. I don't really know what to do with it, or we just ran into having to run up a bunch of credit card debt. No, we're about $84,000 in debt. Have you ever faced anything like that? I'd love to kind of get this taken care of. How much money did you move gross last year? And really, oh, that's awesome. What you do with it in terms of investing and things like that? How much credit card debt do you have? We can all help each other out. Do this, do that. But no, it's a secret. I'm going to do a workshop in August for therapists about money. And I truly believe that's this culture's biggest taboo. Right there with death. Death is their neck and neck, baby. Sex now. People will talk about sex. How much money is in my bank? Oh, we're all going to die soon. That's a big fear. How are you handling that? That's great. So that's how you take care of the mental health crisis that has always been here, always. And it won't go away until we stop setting our hair on fire because there's a mental health crisis. It takes a lot more thought than that. It takes a lot more knowledge, not a mental health crisis that wasn't there before, and here's what you do about that. What else you
Right. Well, again, thoroughly enlightened, well said. And No, this is, again, it's I really am grateful that this information is getting out there. We don't really set a lot of metrics or goals about what we're trying to accomplish, but it's always been kind of inferred that Eddie and I would just very much appreciate it if one person stumbled upon one of these episodes and looked at a way forward in a slightly different way, reached out to a therapist.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, or I was thinking about what I talked about today. It's like, oh man, because at this point, folks, we haven't launched yet, so we don't know if we have anybody paying attention to us or not. But I'm really looking forward to that first episode where we can go, okay, hey, let's go look at the mailbag. What do we got in here? You know, or Joe from Arkansas asked this incredible question. We can riff on that for a while.
Well, as your lips to God's ears, Eddie, because it's about to happen. So
yeah,
interestingly enough, it's like we're speaking into our future selves as someone stumbles upon this episode or tunes in. As we record this conversation, we're preparing for the launch of a podcast that we've been recording for a year. So it's exciting. And again, you know, our values were always to inform and perhaps inspire, or at the very least, educate and remove stigma around, you know, the what is therapy, psychotherapy, mental health, all of the symptoms and components and reasons that go behind it. And I, for one, feel fantastic. I mean, I feel so much more informed and better and more aware and more accepting of, you know, the whole being of me. And I don't know that if Eddie, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I don't even know if what I'm receiving is therapy, but what we're talking about and what I'm learning about feels really empowering. And it where it shows up in my life is the level of empathy that I have for others, because you have a way of contextualizing, you know, every one of us is dealing with something around this enoughism, you know, like, am I enough? Am I good enough, smart enough, strong enough, wealthy enough? Whatever it is. And the way you explain it and the way I hear it and learn from it, I have no doubt it makes me a better husband. It makes me a better father. It makes me a better son. It makes me a better friend, a better business person, a better human. And I feel, outside of the cold I'm dealing with right now, I feel wonderful having had the opportunity to share in this journey with you. So in front of the world, I just want to express sincere gratitude for you for including me on this project, because it's really been enlightening. And I know my wife appreciates it. And I know my sons appreciate it. I hope my team appreciates it. And the world will appreciate it one day here real soon. But on behalf of everybody, thank you.
You're welcome, Billy. I mean, that means a lot. I mean, that's really, you know, in this last kind of stage of my life, I mean, this is really what I want to accomplish. And so if we can get you to where, you know, you don't have a visceral reaction to pedophiles, then we're there. You know, then you hear, you know, I mean, imagine a world where if you hear about someone having sex with a child or somebody beating somebody, your heart goes out to both people involved. Imagine a world like that. Right? Because I guarantee you both people have got some problems and both people can get a lot of help. It's not really a world of perpetrators and victims. It's a world of people trying to figure their lives out as best they can. And you know, let's help everybody. Help them. And yeah, there are people who need to be locked away for everybody's safety, to protect them. But if you're going to do that, then get in there and help that person. Really help that person. Don't just punish them, because it's not punishment. So yeah, that's what I'm shooting for, man. I mean, let's be kind. Let's be kinder. You know, let's don't do what I wind up doing, way too often of hearing something about somebody and go, what an idiot. Yeah. I really do work to change that, and I'm a lot better about that. But there's just people that say and do certain things that I still don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're shooting for here, and I hope that word gets out. And I'm so stoked about launch and then all the other things we hope to be doing on this platform and spreading out and people being a part of it.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, if this episode or any of our episodes have created interest or intrigue, or if you've got a question, please reach out to us privately, directly, or in the comments below, and we'll be more than happy to address your concerns directly or on a future episode, because it will be from you that we derive our topics and what's important. Because at the end of the day, we're here to serve you, our audience, and deliver for you the information that's most beneficial. I mean, obviously, we have a position, we have an opinion, and we've got some awareness around some things that you may or may not. And hopefully that the enlightening conversation that we have here on YouTube and wherever you consume podcasts gives you some perspective and hopefully a way forward so that you can live a life, as Eddie describes, encompassing the entire human experience, because that is the goal. So with that, this has been another episode of Couch Trip, Therapy for Everyday Life. That's Eddie Reese. I'm Billy Courtwright, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.